Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our interview with Paul Katzoff. Paul is a CEO of WhiteCanyon Software, the premier provider of data erasure software. Paul, thank you for coming to our interview today.
Boris, thank you for having me on the risk management show. I appreciate the chance to talk with you and your audience.
Absolutely. It is interesting to note that Paul originally started at the company in a tech support role, right, Paul?
I did, yes. Yes.
Before coming, you came to the sales, and eventually you started as a CEO. So it's not a kind of a usual path for, and you see a CEO for a software company. And so
Yes.
With your background, I believe we will have a very thoughtful conversation on what's going on in the world of privacy, info security, and cybersecurity regulation with all this. Sustainability initiatives, and how you guys at WhiteCanyon Software add value to the market. Perhaps
Yes.
Could you tell us a short story about what brought you to your current role and what you have been up to these days?
Sure. Like you mentioned, I started here in tech support back in 2008. The big market crash here in the US, I was looking for any type of position. I had my MBA. So I took a technical support role here for $12 an hour, 40 hours a week, and I was happy to get a job. And luckily, WhiteCanyon Software and our WhiteDrive product, we securely erase IT assets. So if companies are going out of business, they need to erase their IT assets. If they're growing and expanding in a good market, they have more IT assets they have to erase. So it's kind of a good niche for this company, and I've been with them for almost 13 years now, 14 years. So it's been great. And the issue of data has grown, which has been a very interesting topic to kind of be a part of. So that's been great as well.
Mm-hmm. So what things are driving such growth? Is it data security, privacy, ESG, regulation, and compliance?
It's the value of the data. The data that can be captured can be processed with the new supercomputers and AI, and that value can be harvested from the data. So there's value behind that data. And then, since there's value, there's drivers to get more data. And all of a sudden, this data is being tied to individuals. And the risk is, on the consumer side, what's my privacy? What am I sharing? What am I not sharing? What do I have control of? And on the corporate side, am I compliant with the regulations that have been instituted for our country or this area? And am I at risk for liabilities, financial payments? What's my risk by pursuing more data and capturing data and using that data?
Mm-hmm. So what's something you or your team have recently achieved that you are really proud of? Maybe you can share with us.
With our company, we securely erase any IT asset. So any device that can hold data, we have to be able to erase it. And so there's a cat and mouse game that we are constantly playing with different devices. And so on our side, it's very technical, Fusion IO devices, NVMe devices. For us, that's what we kind of celebrate, is like, hey, we can erase this type of device. Right now is the new M1 chip from Apple. It's a whole new type of processor. We have to be able to boot on those devices. That's our next cat and mouse, game. But right now we've had a lot of wins on the technical side. A drive life estimator where we can test your drive and come up with a date or how many days left we think that drive will be useful. That's been very popular with a lot of our clients.
Mm-hmm. So what would you say a typical use case for your clients, and in what areas or industries are they? Either all over the place or specific industries?
Yeah, when I started here at WhiteCanyon Software, we were mostly consumer. We had a WhiteDrive product in a lot of retail stores. And then we kind of moved into the enterprise market as more and more corporations started saying, hey, we want to erase our data. Well, the pro and con is we can erase any IT asset, but IT assets are now in every type of industry: construction, mining, manufacturing, you name it. They all use IT assets, servers, workstations, laptops, desktops, all sorts of mobile devices. And so we are actually across the board on every industry to be able to erase every type of device, which is good. We're 100% for that, but it also creates we have to spread ourselves across multiple industries and have deployments that fit each one of those industries. So that's been kind of our challenge on our side, to say, hey, this is how you want to use it. This is, how you're set up with your architecture. This is how we're going to, address that and provide a deployment that works for you.
Mm-hmm. So interesting. What have you learned during your this 12 or 13 years in data erasure space, I would say? And I wonder, how is it independent of a kind of big companies like monsters? So you're still able to keep it independent, right?
Yeah, so we're a software firm here in Utah, in the USA. We sell globally, so we have clients all over Europe, Australia, you name it. We have clients that use us, and we have global corporations that use us as well. So 23 of the Fortune 50 use us, 44 of the Fortune 100 use us. And because it's such a niche of data erasure, we can kind of address how their big needs are, but also the small clients, the small, doctor's offices and dentist offices that have, erasure requirements, we can help them meet that as well. So it's a nice fit on our side. We love the situation. We feel upcoming, there's going to be more and more technology that's progressing. More and more devices are holding data. Your TV is going to be, it's getting smarter. You have these home speaker products that may or may not have data on them. IoT devices. There's a whole realm we're entering of data-bearing devices. What do they have? What do they store? And on your side, are you at risk if these devices leave your home or leave your organization, and there's data on there that it captured and that data gets out? Are you financially liable? Did you do enough to erase that data and meet the industry standard?
So who do you sell to in the corporations? What the job titles are? The InfoSec or kind of chief info security officers, or?
Yeah, it really depends on the organization. Because we're data erasure, we're kind of in that kind of unsexy realm of a cost and an end of life IT asset. So usually the IT asset manager purchases us. We have IT managers that have been tasked with the data erasure, CISOs, CIOs, CTOs, depending on the organization. Typically that job title is IT, but it varies depending on how the organization's set up, who's going to process the devices, who's in charge of the leases, all of that. So it can vary quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. And how do you reach your customers? You're providing kind of more outbound sales, or more kind of informative kind of inbound, like blog? I see you very popular in the podcast, so I think it's kind of your specific niche in proliferating your expertise in a podcast.
Yeah, it's a mixture of both. We love doing podcasts like this one, the Risk Management Show, so we can talk about data, talk about the information and privacy issues. And that's a great way to kind of get our name out there. We've been in business for 23 years, so we already kind of have an established brand. But we also do Google ads. We do direct kind of advertisement. We go to, our association members and conventions and things like that are typical. On the outbound side, like I said earlier, it's anyone with an IT asset. So if you say, hey, we want to contact every company, globally, that's a big effort. So we try to kind of focus on the right markets and address their issues first.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So I would like to ask you a personal opinion. What is a commonly held belief or kind of misconception that you would like debunk in your field of expertise?
The first one is very basic for consumers, which is when you drop a file into the Windows recycle bin and you empty the recycle bin, that file is still recoverable. That's the basic myth out there, is people feel like it's been erased, it can't be recovered. No, that data is still there. On the organizational side, what I would like others to kind of hear and find out about is that you can securely erase SSDs. And for the last decade or so, solid state devices have kind of been viewed as, oh, they work differently than hard drives, let's shred them all. Well, there's a high cost of shredding, there's an environmental impact, there's sustainability issues, circular economy issues, but these SSDs, either in your servers or in your organization, can all be securely wiped and reused. And if you're concerned about that data getting out and leaving your organization, reuse it and reallocate it within your organization. But there's really no need to shred any device. Those days are long ago, decades ago. That's been solved.
Mm-hmm. So based on what you said, what you see in the 5 years, what happens in your market? Is it still growing? It will consolidating, or it will be kind of merged to the bigger players?
So data is going to get more and more important, and then also the data management side of it's going to get important as well. So we see the market growing over the next 5 to 10 years. The number of devices out there is going to continue to grow. Then also that reuse initiative for us, as far as wipe drive and erasing devices, we feel that that will continue to grow as those devices are reused over and over again by different users or different organizations. They'll need to be wiped securely each time. So we see it on that side, it's going to grow. Overall, I think as soon as consumers and the regular users and corporations kind of clue in on the risk of data privacy and what's being shared about them, I think those regulations like GDPR may get even stricter. I think the US may get a GDPR level, regulation with financial impacts. If you get those, enforced and pushed, you're going to see a major move on the market. You'll have other players come into it. We've been here for 23 years. We've seen players come and go. There may be consolidation or a big player saying, hey, let's pick a tool in that industry and grow with it. But that's kind of our side. We see that for the next 10, 20 years, maybe even 50 years, I don't know, data is going to be king, is kind of our view.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So interesting to talk to you about your perspective, and because you've been in a lot of roles in your organization, how it will your mind changed or perspective changed during this period? Because I myself, I also have been have done different roles, like a software engineer, risk manager. Now I'm kind of running a community for risk managers. So interesting to hear your opinion about it.
Yeah, I mean, first off, I love your globalriskcommunity.com community there. That's great. I think it's amazing. On my side, getting to this role, you start to have an open view of everything that's out there. And when you're in those roles, you're just told to do specific responsibilities day in, day out. And all of a sudden, when you move into the CEO role, you go into strategy. What should our strategy be? Should we change it? Should we adjust it? Who should we focus on? Who should we not? What features should we incorporate? Which ones should we not implement or aren't valuable right now? It opens up the whole gamut, and you have to look at the whole industry and say, okay, where are our clients going? What solutions do they need, or do they not even know they need? Let's get these IoT devices erased so that when they come to us 2 or 3 years from now, when they try to recycle them and they want to erase them, we can say, oh, we already have a tool that does that. So it's getting ahead of the market, understanding what they need, and moving your organization to get that done is kind of the viewpoint that I see. It's kind of changed. Before it was just get things done every day, go home. Now it's the world's your oyster.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So based on what you said, what in your point of view should the risk managers should start doing right now that they are not doing with regards to this data erasure issues?
Well, first off, if they don't have a data protection policy, they need to pursue implementing one, and maybe look at some consultants or others in the industry on how to get that done. The way to do that's already been kind of paved by others. So for other organizations that haven't done it, they don't need to create it from scratch. It's already kind of baked out. They just need to follow those steps and implement that. And then step back and say, okay, where is our data? Who holds it? Who manages it? Who has access to it? Let's protect all those areas where a data breach can occur. And erasing IT assets at end of life is one of those steps. But let's take a full holistic view of all the data on our organization and realize the other big issue here is, let's say a regulation comes out 5 years from now, or even 10 years from now, but a device left your facility this year, okay? That device isn't found, isn't attacked by hackers for another decade. But when they do, they capture information, private health information, or social security numbers or credit cards, and they publish those. Well, 10 years from now, it's a time bomb. You are liable for that data. Even though right now you say it's not a risk, it's not a concern, there's no financial penalty, but looking forward, if there is one, you are going to be liable for not doing it now. And that is that's an area that risk managers haven't really viewed yet.
Interesting. I thought there is kind of time frame that you are still you're not liable anymore, but for this data, leakage or data waste, you are liable all time of the life of the instrument or something,
Yeah,
right?
correct.
It's like on criminal there is no time for Nazis there is no kind of time boundaries for their crime. So the same for
Yes, or let's say you put a mine, let's say there's a minefield, you put a whole bunch of mines in there, the war's over, it's been 15 years, and someone walks by plowing that field and they hit that mine and it explodes. It's the same thing. There's bombs that were dropped during World War II that they're discovering in Europe, and they go, oh no, this bomb's 50 years old. How do we, what happened? There's a danger here, or it could just explode. So there's some risks here that we aren't really seeing with data. And the level of importance hasn't really popped up on a lot of radars, and that's the issue.
Okay, interesting. So maybe what are the major takeaways? We discussed a lot of stuff today in this 20 minutes interview. Maybe just for those who listening, what will be one or two major takeaways from this interview?
On the consumer side, realize that data is king, and I would reach out to your politician and say, hey, I care about my data. I'd like to have regulations that protect myself and that I can have control of the data, I think, as a regular consumer. As a corporation, realize that your future data getting out there is a big risk to you. You need to address it now. And also realize that there's value in data. If you're not getting value from the data you have, talk to a consultant, get others in-house to get that value out of it, because others are harvesting that information, using it for their benefit. And if you aren't, you're going to fall behind. And data is one of those areas where data scientists, data AI bots, all that kind of thing, those sort of things can help you harvest that information and be valuable to your organization, help growth.
Okay. And one question I ask every guest because I'm running global risk community, and I would like to know how from your perspective, how we can improve just to contribute for better understanding of this complex world of risk management.
Ooh, that's a broad question. Risk management is here to stay. It will continue to grow. There's going to be issues regardless of any organization, whoever you are, whether you're small, medium, or large, and there are going to be regulations and financial penalties coming in the future if they're not there right now. So instituting and keeping abreast of these new developments is key. Also, being an active member of the community is going to help you and your organization be able to be ahead of the curve. And if you're not, you're going to get hurt. So be active, ask questions, learn more, address those issues that are internal for your company, and try and get the decision makers above you and executive team and board on the same page of what needs to get done so that you can protect your organization. These risks are out there. They're going to continue to grow, and it's kind of your responsibility to make sure they're addressed, or do your best to get your organization to address them.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Maybe a last question. This were all my questions. Maybe if I missed anything, would you like to add something that will benefit our audience?
Yes, passwords. If you can use two-factor authorization, use it. If you can't, have a unique password. One recommendation I've heard is use the number, use the first 3 or 4 letters of the domain, use a unique word, and use a special character. That way your password is different per website, but also for yourself, it's easy to remember. So if that password gets out there, there's a chance that they can't just steal that password and just apply it to a bunch of websites to get access. Also, debit cards. Here in the US, debit cards are used all the time. If that debit card's compromised, it's hard to get your money back. This is from Frank Abagnale. Catch Me If You Can movie. Yeah. He says don't use debit cards. You should either have an ATM card or a credit card. And after learning that from him, I agree. I think debit cards are too risky, and let's use credit cards, which is someone else's money. Or if you need to get money out of the ATM, use an ATM card to get the cash out. But the debit card is a direct line to your bank account, and to get those funds back could be a headache.
Yeah, exactly. My wife had this this experience with debit card. Yeah, exactly. All right. So nice view from Utah Hills, and I wish
Thank
you
you.
thank you for your webinar, or for your very good interview, and I hope our members will like this very much, and hope to hear from you guys in the future.
Thank you, Boris. I appreciate being on the Risk Management Show. If you'd like to reach out to me, my name is Paul Katzoff. You can reach me on Twitter, LinkedIn. Our company is WhiteCanyon Software, and our main product is WhiteDrive Enterprise. We'd love to hear from you and work with you in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Paul.